Hi guys, in this video we're gonna talk about the development of reproductive system. So I'm not gonna get into the general embryology. I just want you to recall that we have three germ layers. We have the ectoderm, we have the mesoderm, and we have the endoderm. And you guys know that with further proliferation of the cells and foldings of the embryo, we get to start to have our body systems. And you know that this is not in a stage dependent manner, it's just random pictures. I added them because I want you to understand some basic structures that will help us to understand the development of the reproductive system. And you know that the blue represents the ectoderm, the red represents the mesoderm, and the yellow represents the endoderm. And what concerns me here is not the ectoderm, it's basically the mesoderm and little of the endoderm. So you guys know that this is the mesoderm, and you know that the mesoderm gives you three parts. It gives you the paraxial, this is the axial, you have the paraxial mesoderm, which is gonna give you the somites later on, to give you the musculoskeletal system. And then you have the intermediate mesoderm, which is gonna give you the urogenital system, the kidney, and you know, the urinary system and the genital system, which is what concerns me now. And then you have the lateral plate mesoderm. Now, if you guys look at this cavity, you will find that with the foldings of the embryo, you will get to have something called intraembryonic coelom. All right, you guys, with further development, if you get into this picture, you understand that the fetus during development, it will have cavity, one internal and one external. So the internal one, we call it intraembryonic cavity or intraembryonic coelom. And the coelom is important because we're gonna touch on that as we proceed in the reproductive system. All right, so the intermediate mesoderm, remember that the intraembryonic coelom is gonna give me important structures today. And the last thing I want you to remember is your gut tube. All right, because there is one important structure at the end of the hindgut. We're going to talk about it when we talk about the external genitalia. And one final thing is the yolk sac. I don't know if I have it here or no. The yolk sac is where we're going to have the primordial germ cells. They are going to get stored in there, and with the development of the reproductive system, we're going to have them to migrate from the yolk sac all the way through the mesentery of hindgut to reach the place where we have the our genital organs. So now you understand that we're going to talk about the intermediate mesoderm. You understand that we have a cavity called intraembryonic coelom, and it has an epithelium called coelomic epithelium. It's going to help me in the formation of the gonads. And you understand that we will have the primordial germ cells coming from the yolk sac, migrating through the mesentery here, the mesentery of the hindgut, to reach the finally the coming from the mesentery of hindgut all the way to reach the place we're gonna form the gonad. So if we want to talk about the intermediate mesoderm, remember that in the intermediate mesoderm, this is a cross section in the embryo. We have taken a cross section here. And then we're looking from the top to see the intermediate mesoderm. Remember, that was the lateral plate. Here was the paraxial. Here we are in the intermediate. In the intermediate mesoderm, guys, we have something called urogenital ridge. All right, it's a ridge, guys. And why do we call it urogenital? Because it's gonna form the kidney related structures, and it's gonna form stuff related to the genital system. So this is what we call the urogenital ridge. The urogenital ridge, guys, it's gonna give you two important things. One that is called the nephrogenic cord, all right, nephrogenic cord. And then we have the genital ridge. As we proceed, I'm gonna show you that. Now, let's see this in the next picture. if you guys look at the cross section, you will find that in the intermediate mesoderm, you have masses lateral to the aorta. That is going to give you the urogenital ridge. The urogenital ridge is going to show you the nephrogenic cord. The nephrogenic cord will take care of the part of it to the kidney, and part of it will give you the mesonephros that will form part of the genital system, and then you will have the genital ridge. All right, so remember, you have the nephrogenic cord and the genital ridge. Let's get back to this picture. So I just want to touch on something in the nephrogenic cord. This one is basically related to the nephrogenic cord is related to the urinary system. It is divided into three parts: the pronephros, the mesonephros, and then the metanephros. Now, what concerns me is only the mesonephros, because further development will give me the mesonephric duct, and we need the mesonephric duct in the formation of the genital system. And then the metanephros is going to give you the kidney, which doesn't concern me. Now, so what I need from the urogenital ridge, I need the mesonephros, the mesonephric duct, I need it, and I need the genital ridge, which you will see now. If you look at this picture here, again, it's a cross section. Remember, this is a cross section in the embryo. Remember, this is the intermediate mesoderm. This is the cavity inside the intraembryonic coelom. Coelom in Latin means cavity. I need the intraembryonic coelom, and we're going to say why later on. And I want you to remember the migration of the primordial germ cells from the yolk sac through the mesentery of the hindgut to go all the way and to reach the place where we're going to form the gonads. Now, from where we have the gonad, if you guys think about your gonad, whether it's ovary or testis, you're going to have the capsule. You have the capsule, you have tubules inside of the gonad or follicular cells, and then finally you have your oogonia or spermatogonia. So basically guys, when you want to talk about the indifferent stage, which is in the first 7 weeks of development of formation, you will have three sources that will give you the gonads, whether it's ovary or testis. You're gonna have the gonadal ridge. Guys, remember, we have the gonadal ridge, and the gonadal ridge, you guys can see it's blue, and it's gonna give you basically the capsule of the gonad or the connective tissue stroma around it. All right, so the gonadal ridge or the genital ridge is gonna give you the capsule of your gonads, and also the connective tissue stroma and stuff related to the connective tissue. All right, now check. Now we said that part of the gonad, and we know from where it's coming. All right, we are here talking about intermediate mesoderm, remember. So the genital ridge gave me the capsule. Now, remember guys, when I told you about this cavity, the intraembryonic coelom, you guys, this cavity is lined by epithelium. The lining epithelium of the intraembryonic coelom, we call it the coelomic epithelium. You guys, with the development, the coelomic epithelium, which is basically the cavity around you, and here you have the epithelium itself of that cavity, is gonna invaginate. It's gonna invaginate. It's gonna invaginate the gonadal ridge, and that is gonna give you something called 6 cords. It's gonna give you something called 6 cords. Cords and sexual 6 cords. So if I'm telling you that we have 6 cords, what do you expect those things to be? It's gonna be your seminiferous tubules of the testis or the follicular cells of the ovary. All right, so we have the gonadal ridge that gave me the capsule around it. I have the coelomic epithelium that invaginated in the substance of my gonadal ridge, and it gave me the seminiferous tubules on male or follicular cells in female. And the last thing, which is number 3, it's whether it's the sperm or the egg. This is gonna be what we call the primordial germ cells, and they are migrating from the yolk sac. They have been saved there for some period of time until we are ready now to migrate them through the mesentery of the hindgut to reach the final place here in the intermediate mesoderm place, all right? And they are going to get inside and fill the follicular cells with the oogonia if it's female, or they're gonna get into the seminiferous tubule and form the spermatogonia, all right, guys? So we have three sources in the indifferent stage, and now we're not sure whether this is male or female. Now we're just forming what we can say it. We can say we are forming a gonad that is not testis or ovary. So we have the genital ridge. The genital ridge formed the capsule and the stroma and the connective tissue of my gonad. We have the 6 cords, which was the invagination of the coelomic epithelium, and that is going to form the follicular cells, the seminiferous tubules, and Sertoli cells inside. And we're going to have the primordial germ cells, and the primordial germ cells are going to migrate from the yolk sac until they reach the follicular cells or the seminiferous tubules to have the final component of my gonad. All right.